Kristen, thanks. Minute past the hour now and happening now. Albuquerque police are searching for more suspects in the killing of Manzano High student Jaden Chavez Silver. One is already in custody. Donovan Maez, the son of State Representative Stephanie Maez, appeared before a judge on Sunday. The 18-year-old has a long rap sheet, already charged in 2 burglaries and for allegedly selling counterfeit drugs. Police say he and at least one other person showed up at a party, shooting through a kitchen window in June. Chavez Silver was hit. He later died. His mother says it appears that Maez doesn't feel any guilt for killing her son, but she still feels badly for him.
I mean, I felt anger. You look at his face and it looks like he has no amount of remorse at all. But then as a mother, you look at him and you see a kid in his eyes, and that's heartbreaking as well.
Maez was booked on an open count of murder among several other charges. His bond is now set at $250,000 cash in the death of Chavez Silver alone.
Yes, other cases, court documents show one of his associates was 19-year-old Drew Duggar. Duggar was arrested with another man last month for allegedly trying to sell military-grade explosives to undercover officers. Police say they tried to make the deal at this IHOP. We turn now to this. New this morning, another teen murder suspect is behind bars after confessing to stabbing a man in the neck and stomach this weekend. According to a criminal complaint, police were called to the Bertellis apartments in southeast Albuquerque early Saturday morning. That was due to a maintenance man saying he just found a body inside one of the units. When police arrived, they found blood everywhere and 54-year-old Anthony Marquez face down in a back bedroom. Police in Marquez offered 19-year-old Jesse Fierro, his girlfriend, and 2-year-old daughter a place to stay. Fierro told police he stabbed the man in his apartment after he allegedly touched the woman's arm and made her feel uncomfortable. He's now charged with an open count of murder, among other charges.
Happening today, this Albuquerque City Council is expected to talk about a teen curfew. Albuquerque did have a curfew in the 1990s until the state Supreme Court ruled that state law didn't allow them to do it. A proposed resolution on the agenda today would ask the legislature to change the law. Supporters say a curfew is necessary to keep kids out of trouble. Opponents say it doesn't really address the problem and could lead to racial profiling. The City Council meeting is scheduled for tonight.
We turn on to this morning. Firefighters are hoping a break in the heat will help them get the upper hand on nearly 60 huge fires burning in the west, the biggest still in California this morning. A sudden wind shift in central Washington managed to fan the flames, forcing more than 1,000 residents in one town to evacuate. Fast-moving fires in eastern Oregon have destroyed multiple homes, and a 70-year-old woman died while trying to evacuate her home. Authorities say there's little relief in California at this time, which continues to face extreme drought and excessive heat.
APS's new superintendent says he's trying to make his mark on the school district as we enter the first full week of classes today.
I'm a parent now in the Albuquerque Public Schools, and to be able to have my children, my child in the school district is really, really special.
Luis Valentino acknowledged one of the biggest challenges that he's facing is improving the district's graduation rate, which currently sits at 67%. He says the best way to do that is to get to kids when they're young.
We need to start looking at interventions very early on, but also we need to start early. Early education is a key goal of mine to make sure that we as a district really address it.
Valentino came to Albuquerque from San Francisco, where he worked as an associate superintendent.
This morning, Krista's St. Vincent Regional Medical Center is in the crosshairs of a lawsuit. A doctor is the one suing the Santa Fe Hospital. 54-year-old Rory Sumners from Washington is behind the lawsuit filed last week. He claims he lost sight in one eye because a Kristen St. Vincent surgeon was not available to handle his emergency. Sumners claims he experienced vision problems and went to the hospital back in 2012, but he says the on-call ophthalmologist was out of town and made a determination over the phone that he did not need an immediate exam. Sumner says he went blind in his right eye the very next day.
5:06 now. Federal authorities say a suspected robber accused of stealing more than $1 million in pills from pharmacies is behind bars this morning. They say Angelo Aragon is part of a criminal network of people who robbed pharmacies, even hopping counters to get painkillers. Earlier this year, law enforcement agencies announced their investigation into 26 robberies that date back to last year. Thieves took 68,000 pills worth $1.4 million.
Turn on to this. New this morning, disgraced Olympic athlete Oscar Pistorius is likely to be released from prison this week. Pistorius was found guilty of culpable homicide in the shooting death of his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp, on Valentine's Day back in 2013. Pistorius admitted to firing shots through a bathroom door, but said he thought there was an intruder. He's served 10 months of his 5-year sentence. Now there's word he could be paroled this Friday, depending on his hearing, how it goes this week. Prosecutors still plan to appeal the original ruling to the Supreme Court.
Well, listen to this. Donald Trump is taking a break from the campaign trail to fulfill another civic duty. The Republican presidential frontrunner is expected to report for jury duty today in New York. Last week, a Trump spokesperson confirmed that the real estate mogul will show up to a Manhattan courtroom. The New York Daily News had reported that Trump ignored 5 jury summonses since 2006 and received a $250 fine as a result.
A Tennessee teen is now a big fan of Siri after Apple's voice interface helped save his life. Take a listen.
I realized that, oh wow, this is actually kind of a useful thing.
Absolutely. Sam Ray was working under his truck, which was lifted up on this jack in his driveway. The 18-year-old had his phone in his pocket when the nearly 5,000-pound truck fell on top of him. Ray's arms were trapped, but he was able to push up on his hip to activate Siri and called 911. First responders were able to get to him quickly thanks to the iPhone application. He broke several ribs and tore and bruised his kidney, but doctors say he is recovering well.
What an intense ordeal. And of course, to have the button just, work just so if he was able to lift his hip for it.
Exactly.
Incredible.
And to hear just at least one voice, even if it is Siri, saying, "Can I help you?" Yes, you can.
That's a comforting thought. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Kristen, thank you. Happening this week, we could find out if a former APD detective and current officer will go to trial in the shooting death of James Boyd. A judge could make a ruling in the coming days in the preliminary hearing for Keith Sandy and Dominique Perez. That hearing continues this morning. Attorneys for Sandy and Perez are still laying out the case that the shooting of Boyd, a homeless camper, was justified. Sandy and Perez face up to second-degree murder charges. Judge Neil Candelaria will be the one to decide which charges, if any, the state can prosecute the pair on. Last year, investigators say the 2 APD officers shot and killed Boyd, who suffered from mental illness after a lengthy standoff in the foothills. The state claims Boyd was attempting to surrender before Perez and Sandy opened fire.
Turn out to some overnight news. The area of Montgomery at Louisiana is back open this morning after 2 people were struck by a car. APD says both pedestrians were hit while crossing the street in northeast Albuquerque around 10:30 last night. The driver did stop, but at this time there's no word as to who was at fault or if the walkers were in an actual crosswalk and had the right of way. The 2 are rushed to the hospital. Their conditions are not known at this time. We're still waiting for police to release names in this case. Now, that was the second pedestrian hit in less than 24 hours in the metro area. The first left 1 person dead after Bernalillo County Sheriff's deputies say a pedestrian was hit and killed by a semi on I-40 yesterday morning. Deputies say it happened around 10 when the person tried to cross the interstate just east of Tramway. They have yet to release the person's name nor the driver's name. The driver is not facing charges at this time.
I-25 is also back open to traffic this morning after a deadly crash. Albuquerque police say it happened Sunday afternoon at I-25 in Comanche. A woman driving an SUV hit the vehicle in front of her while she was trying to pass it. Police say that her SUV flipped. She was thrown out. She was not wearing a seatbelt. The southbound interstate was closed for about 3 hours at that time.
New this morning, some Albuquerque residents are fed up and say what they're seeing is not only an eyesore, it's also dangerous.
And this morning, they hope that police can catch the trash dumping culprits. They've turned a place to get away, run, walk, and bike, and enjoy nature into a dumping ground.
News 13's Catherine Mazzone dug for answers in this, including who's responsible for that part of the bosque and why it's not cleaned up.
Isn't this something? This is the bosque.
It's the town of Bernalillo, just off Highway 550. Rio Rancho resident Rob Vitek walks his 2 dogs, Bolo and
Freedom.
But instead of the picturesque open space one would expect to find at the bosque,
You come in here and it'll be like this all the time, trashed.
Vitek says he visits often, but it's been ages since he's seen these trails free of litter.
Find clothing in here.
He's fed up.
To see this is disturbing. It kind of gets to you after a while.
Vitek says he's hauled bags upon bags of trash out of this area himself, including items that could be harmful to his pups.
I worry about glass and needles.
Have you found needles here?
Yes, I found needles, so I pick them up and then dispose of them properly, but they're out here, yeah.
Vitek says he's made calls to the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District about the trash, but So far, nothing's changed.
It's not always immediate.
Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District's Tom Thorpe says they respond to complaints like VTEX, but tells us they have a lot of other projects going on. We led Thorpe to the worst spots along the trail.
Just trash.
He says it's obvious the area has become a hangout and a dumping ground.
People want to have the fun, but they don't want to do the hard work of taking their stuff with them and getting rid of it.
Thorpe admits the throngs of garbage are unacceptable, not to mention a safety issue.
People hike through here and, ride their bikes and their horses and things. It's unsightly for them, and they don't want to see it, and we don't want to see it. We then have to turn around and spend taxpayer dollars coming in and cleaning it up.
Thorpe says they work with local law enforcement to try to keep people out after dark. But when it comes to the trash people leave behind,
we will take care of it. It's our land, it's our property, and we'll come clean it up.
Locals like VTEC just hope it's sooner rather than later.
It should be a place you can go to kind of get away from the rat race, and you come in here and it's like trashed and overcome with litter. It's like, where do you go? This is supposed to be the place you go.
Catherine Mazzone, KRQE News 13.
We did contact police with the town of Bernalillo to find out how they patrol the area, but did not hear back.
We turn out to news happening today. A huge job fair is kicking off in just hours. The New Mexico Workforce Connection in Albuquerque is holding a job fair where 9 companies will be looking to hire. It starts around 9 o'clock this morning, ends at noon. It takes place at the New Mexico Workforce Connection building on Mountain Road. Be sure to dress appropriately and bring your updated resume.
5:36 now, happening now. Search and rescue teams are working to reach the crash site of an Indonesian plane that went down on Sunday. A search plane spotted the wreckage of the Trigana Air passenger plane in eastern Indonesia. The plane had 49 passengers on board, though it's not clear at this point if there are any survivors. They say it's not going to be easy to reach the wreckage. The chief of the National Search and Rescue Agency says that wreckage is at an altitude of about 8,500 feet. The plane was leaving Papua's capital when it crashed.
Take a look at this terrifying video. We're now seeing new video of the moments of the deadly chemical explosion in China. The video was taken in an apartment building a couple of 100 meters away from that blast, which happened last Wednesday. The explosion killed 114 people. 70 people are still missing this morning. Survivors are now protesting, demanding compensation from China's government as they continue to look into what exactly happened there.
Dramatic.